Hey guys, Arm&Gun here today with a wall of guns review for you guys. We're on the hunt for the best American small arm for World War II. I got a wall full of them here for you guys, and we're gonna basically, in typical wall of guns fashion, I'm gonna pull one off at a time. I'm gonna run through the controls with you, give you guys a couple of the pros and cons of each system. Then you guys get to pick which gun you would take into battle. So imagine yourself in World War II. We have to pick a ditch here. We have to decide a particular theater of war. So we're gonna go with, basically you just dropped in on Normandy and you're, rampaging through, well, liberating through Europe. So that's the context of this video. And given that scenario, you got to pick one of the guns on this wall. Your sidearm is going to be your trusty 1911, but your primary arm is going to be either, we've got most of them here. Again, we don't have bolt guns, but semi-autos or automatics, we've got you covered. So we got a grease gun. It's actually an M3A1, so it's the improved, rather simplified version of the M3. We have both patterns of Thompson. We have the 1928A1 as well as the M1A1. Arguably, there was a transitional one, the M1. Don't have one of those, but it's basically the same thing as an M1A1 with a little slightly more complicated bolt. Then we have a Garand. That's pretty much the mainstay, the iconic World War II gun from the Americans. And finally, don't worry about this guy down there. Finally, we have the 1918 A2 bar, the Browning automatic rifle. Basically, this is its return from World War I with more weight. It put on some weight in college. Anyways, guys, that's the rundown. So we're gonna pick the gun. We're gonna go through the merits of each one together. You guys get to pick your pick after I've done that. Then I'll let you guys know what I would take, given it was my choice. So without further ado, let's start up top, work our way down. We're gonna kick things off with the grease gun. All right, guys, there she is. She's basically the American Sten of World War II. Basically, imagine this mag well right here rotated 90 degrees over, and that's gonna be it's gonna be looking a lot like a Sten gun. And this was designed kind of with the same attributes as the Sten gun, or the same purpose as the Sten gun, and that was to give a lot of troops a gun that could be produced very quickly and efficiently and inexpensively in World War II, because that was basically, it was a numbers game. They were trying to crank out as much product as possible. And the poor Thompson over there, even the very simplified M1A1, which cost about a fifth of what initially Thompson's cost going in, like the 1928s, those were like $200. The 1921s were $200 in the 20s when they were released. And I believe they got the cost down to the very simplified M1A1 to like under like $37, something like that per piece back in the 40s. Pretty unreal, but they still managed to cut that cost in half with the grease gun. That was the original M3. This thing became the M3A1, which was the further improved or simplified, they did some of both, gun. So they got rid of your cocking handle, which is right here. That's evident of an M3. M3A1 does away with that. So guess what, guys? You get to cock this thing with your finger. Just reach in here. That's your bolt. And this groove is literally for your finger. Pull that thing back. It's not very hard. And there you guys go. And no, that's not a last round bolt hold open. Rather, this thing is a submachine gun that fires from the open bolt position. So that thing just slams home. You pull the trigger. She slams home, fires around. She turns to the rear, and then, but that's it. So pretty wild. If you guys want to, run this with a loaded mag, run it safe. You just close the dust cover. There's a little lug right there that connects right down here. Pushes the bolt back ever so slightly, and that's your safety. So no other manual controls or external controls on this gun, apart from the mag release, which is a bit crude for those of you guys that like your AR-15s. This is not as slick as that, but there you go. So these things have a crappy single feed, double stack, single feed mag, and that thing friggin' blows. It really sucks. These things are a prick to load. Thankfully, on the M3A1, they gave you a little built-in mag reloading tool. So easy to do with the thing pulled out. Basically, what you guys gotta do is you take your mag, you push it into that little divot that's gonna push the follower down, allow you to get a round started in there, pull it out, push the round back all the way through, and then again, just repeat that process. Push it down the round, the follower, gives you enough space to get the next one in, and you carry on. So that does help, at least with reloading these things. The positive aspect with these things is they're dead nuts reliable, super freaking reliable. More so than the Thompsons, but again, a prick to reload. Locks in, not on a full mag on a closed bolt, mind you, but at least not very nicely. Other than that, you've got some pretty terrible backup sights here. Way too tight an aperture. You should really drill this out with like an 1/8" drill bit. Then you're gonna be better. You got a little notch right up there. Not adjustable whatsoever, unless you just start banging it against a rock or something, or with a hammer in the field. You have a PDW style retractable telescopic stock. That thing you're just gonna yank, pull it out. It's gonna lock in place. Got a little retractable button right here. But there you go. One length of pull. I hope it works for you, because that's your gun. We also have a flash header on here with a wing nut. That's keep your signature down a little bit. Now the redeeming feature of this thing is that it has a very low cyclic rate. You're talking like 450 rounds per minute. So slow in fact that you can actually, with some bit of trigger control, pull off single shots. Because basically this thing is a full auto or nothing, but it's slow enough that you can, with some training, you can pull off single shots. So it's a cool gun. It's simple. It's pretty compact relative to the Thompson there, but nonetheless, there you guys have it. That's the grease gun. Let's throw it back on the wall, but that's its attributes and drawbacks. You guys can weigh that in your future decision. But anyways, guys, here we go with the M1A1. So here's your controls. We got a mag release right here. You push up, lets you pull your magazine out. This is a 30 round. You could also get them in 20 rounders. Now the M1A1s and the M1s did away with the little extra cutout here that allowed you to take a drum mag. So no drums for these guys. But honestly, a lot of soldiers found that the 30 round mags were preferable because the drum mags were super heavy, awkward to load, rattly, and heavy. Just not as good of a time. 30 rounders were easier. So this was a simplified gun. You can see you can pull back. Again, fired from the open bolt. These had a last round bolt hold open though, which is a pretty cool feature. So they actually won't drop the bolt on an empty mag. Rather, you have to have the mag out or a full mag to drop that bolt. So pretty cool. Unlike the grease gun though, you do have a full set or whole suite of selectors here. You got single, you have full, you also have fire and safe. And these are pretty easy to manipulate. Ergonomically, they're not, you kind of have to break your grip to mess with this stuff, but it is there. Magazine changes are gonna, again, like with the grease gun, come up with your left hand. These are not ambi-friendly. Come up with your left hand, push this, grip it, rip it, take it out, grab a fresh one, just jam it all the way up there, and you're back in action. The nice thing is you're gonna be, assuming you just expended a mag, you're already gonna be in the rear position, and you're gonna be ready just to jump back into the fight with a quick trigger pull. Backup sights on these guys are pretty basic. You have a bigger aperture than the M3A1. Still not huge, but you've got both the aperture and you've got a quick little notch here as well. So you've got a couple options there. This gun right here is going to be somewhere in that 650 to 675 rounds per minute rate of fire. So that's much lower than earlier Thompsons. So you're going to be able to keep this guy on target a little bit better, which is not terrible. Unfortunately, they did away with the cuts compensator, again, to cut costs. And the one other problem with the Thompson is your wood stock here. It's a very long length of pull and it drops down. So you get kind of more of a chin weld. And the other problem when you have a gun that has a drop stock, when you're shooting full auto, it's gonna wanna naturally climb because your bore axis is like, it's not directly in line with your shoulder, it's above. It's gonna naturally wanna pivot back like that. So keeping it on target is not the easiest. That was kind of a flaw with a lot of Generation 1 submachine guns, which at least the Americans as of World War II had not worked out yet. Guys, that's the M1A1. Throw it back on the wall. Continue on with the 1928A1. All right, laddies, this time we've got the 1928A1, which is a lot more throwback features to the OG 1921 Colt Thompson's. Pretty cool. You got your cuts compensator up here. That's really nice. That was basically a feature of the 1928s. We do have the same forend though, as was always kept through the M1A1, the simplified ones. The 1928s originally had a forend like this, kind of a vertical foregrip in there. Different from this. Pretty cool. Honestly, this is the gangster, Chicago typewriter style, which is pretty cool. I should have a 1928 here in a couple months or a few months, so we'll get one of those on the channel. But for now, we have this 1928A1, and she is beautiful. We have a top-mounted charging handle. We have the finned barrel, which is really cool, guys, really cool. And a couple of the nice features as well, like a removable buttstock. So you can get nice and compact with this thing. Actually, this thing, like this, is the same size, if not a little bit smaller, than the M3 grease gun up there. So that's pretty cool, especially when you compare that with this vertical foregrip. Then you can really get, two hands on it, run this thing, pretty cool. That's I haven't tried that yet myself, but I gotta do that. This is a 20 round mag right here. This is a little shorty, but again, this is actually this works with the 30 rounders. This also has the cut for the drums, so you can run 50s or 100 round drums, which is pretty wild. So that's a possibility for you if you guys run this platform. And the stock is basically QD, so it's just gonna slide right back on there, lock into place. Pretty sweet. I have the trigger group removed here just for some maintenance stuff. That's why that's out of there, but man, this is cool. For your backup sights, you got a couple of options here. A little notch right down there, which is gonna line up with your front sight, or you have the full alignment affair, where you can do a whole bunch of different adjustments. Pretty wild. So that's that. You also have a higher rate of fire on this guy. So as compared to say the 650 to 675 of the M1A1, this guy you're kind of more so in the 800 to 850 range, which is faster. And again, you still have the same problem with your stock and muzzle climb, but you have the cuts compensator on these guys. That's going to help keep the gun straight and level while you're firing. Also, with that higher rate of fire, you're going to run out of your mags quicker. So, but hey, on these guys, you do have the provision to run drums. So maybe that's your saving grace. By the way, guys, the first 3 guns so far, the grease gun and both Thompsons, use the 45 ACP round. It's going to be complementary with your sidearm, assuming it's period correct. 1911 45 ACP. The next guns we're going to talk about are going to be chambered in 30-06. So very different. This is a pistol caliber. You know, slow, heavy. This bullet actually weighs more than this bullet, but this guy is rocking at like 4 times the speed. So that counts for something as well. So pretty big trade-off. I mean, today we'd probably like to, compromise with something like a 5.56, which you can see is, it's kind of right in the middle. And that'd be pretty good. But in World War II, this little guy right here, the 5.56, did not exist. So we're back with these 2 guys. So you got to make your pick based on cartridge and, well, delivery system. So guys, next up, it's the clip-taking Garand. Or if you pronounce it properly, Garand, because that's the actual guy's name. He's a Canadian dude, invented the Garand rifle, and that's how you say it. So the Garand, the M1 Garand. This thing is pretty wild. This is the semi-automatic rifle that pretty much, by some accounts, won the wars, for the Americans. This is a super famous, super iconic gun. This one isn't quite period correct. I do have a little muzzle brake on this guy here. Also, this is not a Springfield, this is a Beretta. This is made post-war in Italy by Beretta. This is actually a 7.62 NATO Garand, which is really cool. It's nice nowadays because you get to run a 7.62 NATO, which is a little easier to come by than 30-06 in the surplus world. But so of course, a typical rifle kind of profile. You get your trigger down in here. You have a safety over here, and your charging handle right down the side of the gun. It does reciprocate, as do basically all these guys here, with the exception of, well, the grease gun, which has no charging handle. And actually the bar down there is now reciprocating, which is pretty cool considering that was a World War I design. Anyways, moving along, we have sights that are pretty nice here. Got a super long sight radius, so you can get pretty accurate shots just off the irons like that, which is nice. Sights are adjustable for windage and elevation. That's pretty cool. And a cool thing, another non-period correct thing with this is I have a Holbrook device in here. So that means when you fire your last round and this thing locks open and it's gonna spit out your old, your end block clip here. It's gonna be empty. The old ping. Take a new clip. These are dummy cartridges, by the way. You can see the primers are non-existent in there. Take this guy, line it up, push it all the way in, and watch this. This would be like, oh, you guys are even yelling at me. I'm gonna grand thumb myself. Nope. It's pretty cool. So the Holbrook device actually holds the bolt to the rear until you get it all in. Give a little crank of the charging handle, you run it in, or you just press this little button right here and she launches out. So pretty cool. Otherwise, guys, at that point in time, you just let her go, chamber around, and you'd be back in business. So with this gun, again, you're semi-automatic. You're not that much heavier because the Thompson is kind of a boat anchor, and the grease gun is actually pretty heavy as well. When I originally got mine, I didn't have the bolt installed, and I grabbed it. I'm like, wow, this is like a toy. It's so light. And then I realized the bolt wasn't in it, so I thought, oh, okay, whatever. I throw the bolt in. Then I get the bolt, Man, the bolt weighs like as much as the gun and the grease gun. It's wild. So all said and done, they're not super far apart, but the Garand, nice full-size rifle. Again, you're gonna be able to take accurate shots. Your range is gonna be way farther with this gun. You're gonna have a lot more power with your round as well, because you've got, again, like 150, 160 grain projectile, cruising at like high 2000s, like 2,800 feet per second, something like that. So that's gonna do you pretty good compared to the 45 ACP, which is a 230 grain projectile, romping down at like 750 feet per second, something like in that range. So slow and fat, but pretty good knockdown power in close range. And those guns spit out a lot of rounds. So guys, that's the Garand. Let's throw that back in the wall, get to the last gun, the bar. Oh boy, here we go. The 1918 A2 BAR, Browning automatic rifle. And this thing is a freaking tank. Holy man. They took the 1918 originally from World War I, and they added a bunch of shit to it. Holy man. So I'm gonna rest this on the tool table over there so I can hold this guys out for you and actually not pass out. So this gun is really freaking cool. This thing is a beautiful thing to shoot. You got, well, in World War II, you had semi-automatic and full auto trigger packs. You also had straight full auto, where you had a slow rate of fire and a fast rate of fire. So that's kind of cool. Again, you had a nice selector on here. You push in this little detent that runs it back on safe. You have 20 round mags. Here's your mag release right here. Push that in. These are gonna come out. Here's your bar magazine. Nice double stack, double feed. Again, I'm not sure if I didn't mention it already, but so far everything here has been double stack, double feed. The Garand clips, double stack, double feed. The Thompsons, all models take a double stack, double feed magazine. But those damn grease guns, for whatever reason, they copied the Sten design. Double column, single feed. Those things are a prick to load. Thank goodness they included a mag loader on the M3A1 pattern guns. And that may be an important factor weighing your decision now that I've told you that the mags suck and are a prick to load. So again, with these guys, you got pretty great sights. You got a little hooded sight up front. You've got another similar kind of style to the Thompson, like the Lyman's. You've got a nice, really adjustable sight here. A lot of different things you can do. Adjust for elevation and windage. You've also got a little express battle sight there. This little notch, which is, if I get to focus, pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, man, that bipod is freaking heavy. Also, I don't know what it was with Americans in World War II, but they freaking put wing nuts on everything. It's crazy. I mean, look at the grease gun as well. The little flash hider there, that's got a wing nut on it. And then if you guys look at the 1919s, the Browning 30 cal machine guns, when they went to the A6 version, they were trying to copy the Germans with their general purpose machine gun, where those guys could run around and essentially, like, you know, shoulder hip fire those things with the MG34s, MG42s. The Browning came out with their A6 conversion, and that thing literally just had a little tubular buttstock that slipped over the pistol grip and clamped down with, you guessed it, a freaking wing nut. Unreal. Anyways, they're about the worst on this thing because they're just clunky and they're heavy and they're, oh. But nonetheless, this is a beautiful rifle. You just cock the bolt back with this, run it forward. It's non-reciprocating, which is nice. Again, like the other guns back in the day, the machine guns, they all fire from an open bolt. So we'll pop this guy off a safe and pull that trigger. Boom. So, but this thing weighs so much that honestly, the massive 30-06 round really feels pretty comfortable. This thing doesn't have a crazy fast fire rate, and you do have both settings. You can go slow or fast, and honestly, just chug, 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 and it's a pretty effective weapon system. Pretty nice light machine gun for the era. This definitely, well, it was a contender. The Lewis gun, I think, was probably better. Also gave you a lot more than 20 freaking rounds, and had a better barrel cooling system as well. But nonetheless, I digress. This is a pretty phenomenally cool system. And believe it or not, FN carried on the product and continued to refine it quite a bit up into the Model D, which I will have on this channel in a few months. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna put this thing back on the wall. We're gonna get your picks in, and then I'm gonna tell you what gun I would have stormed through Europe with to defeat the Nazis. Sweating a little bit from holding that big old bar. I forgot to mention it's also got a little shoulder thing that goes up, otherwise known as a barrel shroud. Lol. But that's to assist with, offhand firing, even keeping it just on your shoulder when in the prone position, kind of a good thing. Anyways, guys, that's the lineup. I'm missing the M1 carbine or the M2 carbine. I apologize for that, but too bad. I don't have one of those right now. Anyways, guys, we're picking for these things. honestly, I wouldn't have picked the M1 carbine over any of these anyways, so we'll say it's irrelevant. So guys, feel free to pause, comment in the description below what you would have romped through Europe with to liberate it from the Nazis. For me, guys, I'm going to tell you what I would have picked. I'm going to tell you why. So please put yours below. Let's see if we get the same answer. If not, that's okay. I'll laugh at you a little bit, but we'll get through it. So I would have picked the Thompson. And of the Thompsons, I would have picked the 1928 A1. Or just the 1928. But my reason there is several-fold. So first of all, the Garand, awesome, but World War II, especially fighting in urban centers like in Europe, that was kind of the dawn of like the Sturmgewehr, like with the first assault rifles that were produced. Germany kind of invented those things, and for good reason. So it was due to the nature of the fighting. It was closer range. So after World War II, again, yeah, NATO got kind of, Americans got kind of hung up on the 7.62 cartridge and still maintain that 30 cal, full power round. But the 5.56 round came out of that too, and that was due to the type of fighting they were seeing, not needing a full power cartridge. So yes, more than the pistol caliber, the 45 ACP that you saw on the other guns, but still a compromise, something a bit smaller. So for me, I would have just ditched the Garand and the A2 bar just due to size, weight, ammunition. You couldn't carry as much, it weighs more. I would have gladly grabbed a Thompson or even a grease gun. But the grease gun, it's just, maybe I'm a sucker for quality or something like that. I don't know, but there's other reasons too. The magazines that bother, they're super reliable. The grease guns are dead nuts reliable, more reliable than the Thompsons, but I would have not enjoyed loading those little pricks. Now the fire rate on those things is really nice. Definitely something to take into consideration because you can just run those things and be pretty accurate with your follow-up shots. But still, for me, probably the Thompson, and I would have taken the M1928 because partially that detachable buttstock. I probably would have thrown on the normal pistol grip from the 28s. That way it gives me the option of running it a little more reliably in a pretty, almost as a PDW or CQB weapon in super tight quarters in urban environments. If I wanted to, I want to ditch that stock for room clearing, things like that. Maybe. Also, Wazer to reload your mags to being the double stack, double feed. And you do have, the option of throwing in a 50 or 100 round drum if you need it for a particular, that first round. The first mag could last you, a long time. So I do definitely like that. Also, the sights are a lot better, especially the 28. You've got the better, battle sights as opposed to the little tiny, small aperture. Just that's not going to be good to aim with. Even if you got the slow fire rate, that's going to be bouncing around on you. It's going to be really tough to keep that sight picture with that really small rear aperture. So for me, guys, that's the Thompson. That's Thompson 1928 A1. This little beauty right here, man, it's too cool. I love it. Also, guys, here a little bonus. I asked Richard the Real Deal Movie Arms, go check him out, pretty solid guy on Instagram, what his opinion was. He knows a ton about guns, he uses them in the movie business, and just has a ton of experience and knowledge of history. He got a different answer. He chose the Garand or the Garand, whichever you prefer. I called it both in the video here today, and his reasons for that were the round, the cartridge available. 30-06, you just have way more range. Again, 45 ACP, this thing drops like a rock, and yeah, outside of maybe 100 meters, yeah, you're really pushing it. So, but we went back and forth a little bit, and I did get him to concede that he would take the Thompson under certain circumstances. Kind of what I mentioned as well. If it's a largely close quarter combat, and he's maybe an officer only tasked with kind of protecting himself, then yeah, okay. But otherwise, larger engagements, as a general rule of thumb, as a more versatile standard weapon, he would have went with the Garand there. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Value his opinion. He knows a ton of stuff. And anyways, guys, that's the show for today. Thanks a ton. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like my content, please follow me on Instagram at arm.and.gun. Also, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and tell a buddy about my channel because that gets past the algorithm. I'm shadow banned on Instagram, which definitely sucks. You have to literally type in the entire at arm.and.gun until I show up. Otherwise, I don't show up. Grantham was recently complaining about the same thing because you don't find him either until you put in the last B. Kind of a prick. Anyways, sorry, not him, but just kind of a pain in the butt. So I definitely want to grow the channel. Reach out there, and word of mouth is the best way to do that. So guys, thank you very much. Also on Patreon, if you guys want to reach me personally, that is the best way to get in touch with me. For as little as a few bucks a month, I will get back to those DMs. And finally, I do want to thank some of these guns are provided on loan. So I want to thank Wolverine Supplies, their museum that lends me some stuff. Richard from Movie Armaments Group, those guys lend me some stuff as well. Movie Armorers and Marstar, pretty kick-ass group as well. So thank you a ton to those groups. Check them out. I've also got a lot of other stuff in the description below, various affiliate links and just brands that I think are pretty awesome, like Dixon Flannel and the like. Some gloves that I use up there, fist handwear, good stuff, nice Australian brand. Anyways, guys, that's it. Thanks a ton. I'll catch you on the next one. Arm&Gun out.